Hi everyone, welcome to our baking section of this holiday club. We are using some of the recipes from this book, Baked Through the Bible, because they've got lots of really cool recipes in it, and actually we are looking at one of the stories that we looked at this morning. So the recipe is called Jesus Can Open Blind Eyes, and we're going to have a go at baking these cookies. So the first thing that we do when we're in the kitchen, we tie long hair back, we make sure any long sleeves are rolled up, and we wash our hands. So I'm going to wash mine. We're all very good at washing our hands at the moment. So I've washed and dried my hands, and I've already measured out some of our ingredients for the cookies that we're making today, so I'm just going to finish by measuring out the sugar, and I've got to get 150 grams of sugar, and it's caster sugar I'm using, so I'm going to pour that in. I'm being careful because normally I'm a little bit clumsy and it normally goes everywhere. So, perfect. I've got 150 on the dot. So I'm going to move that out of the way. And then I'm going to add it to so this is my butter, which is already measured out. You should have in your activity pack the recipe with all the ingredients that you need, and it's got the method too, but we're going to go through it just now. So I'm going to add the sugar to my butter. Now you can use a hand mixer for this if you want to make it easier, but it's sometimes quite good fun when you're baking to really get in and about your ingredients and use a wooden spoon to properly mix up all your butter and sugar, because that's going. So this is quite a stiff mixture, but the more you mix it, the smoother and creamier it gets. And you want to mix it until all your sugar is mixed in with your butter. And then once it's all mixed in, you want to give it another few good stirs so that it looks quite creamy. I'm going to show you what mine looks like just now. So there we go. It looks quite creamy. It's actually lightened in colour slightly, and that's a good sign because that shows that it's all mixed in together. So next what we're going to do is we're going to add in our vanilla essence. Now I've got my little spoons, and what I'm doing is I'm using a teaspoon, and I'm going to add 2 teaspoons of vanilla essence. So this one I'm holding it over my bowl because, as I've said, I quite often spill things and we don't want to spill things. So that's 1. Oh, and you know what? That's the last of my bottle. Oops, 2. So that's me added in my vanilla essence. And now the next thing that I'm going to add in is my egg yolk. So I've separated mine already. You can separate it in a few different ways. You might have something that looks a little bit like this in your kitchen, and if you do, you can crack the egg into that, and the white will pour through the bottom, but the yolk will stay in it. If you don't, you can use both sides of the eggshell and pour the white into one and the yolk will stay in the other. It can be a wee bit fiddly, and we sometimes get a little bit messy doing it, but that's all part of the fun of baking. So I'm going to add my egg yolk in, and then I'm going to mix it all again. And I want to make sure that the vanilla essence and the yolk of the egg is all mixed in, so it's getting slightly more runny now that I've added in that bit of liquid. And my next step is to add my flour. So it's plain flour that I've got just now, and I'm going to add it in. I'm going to add it in a little bit at a time, so I might use a spoon and then mix it in, because if I add it all in at once, normally what happens is it goes poof and all the flour goes everywhere, and then I have to clean up even more. And also it makes it a little bit more difficult to stir if I've got all that flour in one go. So I've added in a few spoons and I'm stirring it up just now. So we're going to make cookies with faces on them, and that's going to kind of represent the story that we looked at earlier today, which is that Jesus he healed a man's eyes. He put his hands on the man, and the man who had been blind forever said he could see people walking about, but they looked a little bit like trees. They didn't quite look like people. And so Jesus put his hands on him again, and the man could see. His eyes were healed. So when we cut out our cookies, we're going to put in special sweets that should melt and give our cookies lovely coloured eyes to remind us that Jesus can open our eyes and make us see all the wonderful things. Right, I'm nearly finished adding in all my flour. It's getting a lot stiffer to mix now, and that's a good thing. We want to make it a really stiff dough, because the next thing that we're going to do, and this is one of the reasons why I said we always should wash our hands no matter what we're doing in our kitchens, whether we're preparing food or baking or even just serving up food. We should always wash our hands, because the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to touch this dough. So what you'll need next is some cling film, or if you don't have cling film, you could put it in some tin foil, or even into a smaller bowl, because what we're going to do is we're going to wrap it up and it's going to go in the fridge for 30 minutes. And I've got some cling film. But I'm never very good at cling film. It always gets stuck. That has got stuck all together. But that's okay. So I'm going to use my hands, and it's quite still a soft sticky dough, but that's okay. You know what? I'm thinking this is going to be quite I've got my hands covered, so I'm going to wash my hands again. And I actually think I'm going to add just a touch more flour to my mixture, because I think it might just be a little bit too soft. So I'm going to get some flour out and I will add some more. Now you can, if you are mixing your dough together and you think it's maybe just a bit too soft, a bit too sticky, you can add in some more flour. That's all right. Put my flour back in. That's another thing that you should do when you're baking. You should always put everything away that you've been using. You don't want to leave anything out. You clean up as you go along. And then, when you're finished baking, it makes things easier because you don't have to do all the clearing up. If you've done it whilst you're working, you don't have to clear up at the end. You can just enjoy whatever you've been making. So here we go. This is a bit better now. It's looking a bit firmer. So when I touch it this time, it's not going to all get stuck to my hands. It's going to quite nicely form into a ball that I can put into my cling film. Here we go. Perfect. And make sure that I get all the dough from the bottom of the bowl. Don't want to leave any behind. sure it's all mixed together. This is the fun bit of baking, when you get to use your hands, I think. Oh. Now, I'm trying to make it into a ball. It's quite a big ball. There we go. And it's going to go onto my cling film. And I'm going to wrap it up. I might actually need an extra bit of cling film. Oh, I might be okay. I'm wrapping it up. Wrap, wrap, wrap. I'm going to get an extra wee bit. So that I'm not leaving any of the dough out in the air. So what I'm going to do next is this is going to go in my fridge, and it's going to go there for 30 minutes. So my dough has been in the fridge for 30 minutes, and I'm going to unwrap it now. And what I've done is I've floured my surface so that my dough doesn't get stuck to the worktop. And it's just plain flour that I've used. And I'm going to get a rolling pin. So I've got my rolling pin. Now I've floured it as well, so that when I roll it out, it doesn't get stuck to my dough. And I'm going to roll. You might need to flour it a few times just to make sure that it doesn't keep getting stuck as you roll. I'm rolling my dough out. And what I'm going to do next is I'm going to cut it into circles. And I'm going to put it on a baking tray. No, so I should have said first, I have put my oven on and it is heating up to 180 degrees Celsius. If you've got a fan oven, it's 180, if not 200. And I think all the oven instructions are on your recipe in your pack. So now I've rolled mine out. I might have to roll it out a few times to get all my bits cut out of it. So I'm going to get my baking tray. Now I have a baking tray with some greaseproof paper on it. And that's just so my cookies won't stick to my tray. Now I'm using a big glass. I'm using a big glass because I want a big circle for my face. Now it's quite a good idea to just flour the edge of your glass so again it doesn't get stuck. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to press it down and I'm going to break the side so you can see. Oh, I have to be very careful in picking it up because your fingers will leave an imprint. So I'm going to move my camera down. You can see I've got a circle. But what I need to do is I need to make a wee hole so that we can hang it from. So I'm using a cocktail stick. Now I've made quite a big hole because as it bakes it might close up slightly. And then what I'm going to use next to make eyes is the lid of my essence bottle. Now mine was empty so I'm using this one, but you have to remember if you use yours to put it back onto the bottle. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to press it in at one side and it's made a hole, and I have to scoop out my dough from the inside. And then I have a fish slice I'm using actually to put it onto my greaseproof paper. Now the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to put in our boiled sweeties for the eyes. Now I'm using just some boiled sweeties that I've got, and what I've actually done is smash them up so you can put them in a bag and give them a good whack with your rolling pin. If you've got an adult, they could maybe chop them up using a sharp knife, but what I'm going to do next is I'm going to put a little bit of the sweetie inside the space where the eye is. Now what will happen in the oven is that will melt and we'll get a nice coloured centre to where the eye is. My cookies on my baking tray now, as you can see, they've got the wee boiled sweets in their eyes. And I've got them. So they're going to go into the oven for 14 minutes. So hopefully what shall happen after they've been in the oven is that the boiled sweets should have melted into the biscuit as it bakes. So I'm going to put that on. I'm going to set my timer for 14 minutes and you'll see them when they come out. I'm just about to take my cookies out of the oven. Here we go. So the eyes have melted. That's perfect. And the cookies are looking quite golden. So I'm going to hold them up so that hopefully you can see them. They're still very hot, so be careful. The sweeties have melted into the cookies. Now what you need to do is, if you take these off and put them on a wire rack and let them dry, and then I will show you the rest of what we do for them once they've cooled down. My cookies have now cooled down, and as you can see the eyes I've got. They're slightly see-through with the boiled sweets. And so I'm taking my red writing icing and I'm going to draw a smiley mouth on each of them, because the smiley mouth is reminding us about how Jesus healed the blind man. So before he couldn't see, and then he met Jesus and spoke to him, and then he could see. So I've got my smiley face, and then what I'm going to do is I've got a little bit of string, and if you remember we poked a wee hole through the top above the eyes. Now if your hole has closed up, you can use a wee cocktail stick just to help widen it slightly, and I'm going to pop my string through and tie it at the top. You can always get some help if you need a wee hand to tie it. And then you could hang it in front of a window and the light will shine through the eyes. You can also just eat it though too. I hope you had fun making our Jesus Heals the Blind Man cookies. It's definitely been fun for me, and I hope you enjoy.